agenda, so we're carrying over unfinished business. And first on our unfinished business is the general session legislative preparation, and specifically the request for board support on draft legislation funding request for the 2025 general session. People may want to be thinking about possible options of moving forward on this, meaning that we have, I think, 9 board members, and so there's a variety of ways we can do this, but I'll kind of leave it to the body. I have some suggestions too, but I'll see if what the body has, how they want to proceed. Superintendent Jones, do you need to present anything, or are we just ready to start letting people? Okay, and at about 2 o'clock, we're going to take a break for just a couple minutes to let our student advisory group, because they have a meeting today. We're just going to interrupt our meeting for just a few minutes and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll continue our business. So we're going to give them an opportunity to just contribute for a minute, or at least to see what we're doing. Okay.
Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones. We're excited about this process. We're quickly coming upon the deadline in October to meet the law for the Budgetary Procedures Act, in which the board is required to submit proposals for your budget, basically what amounts to new money, to the governor's office, and then we move together into the legislative session with your request. So we feel, or I'll speak for myself, I feel strongly that we've given or provided the information. You have the requests for appropriation forms, the data that's necessary. We've got a great tracker here that's displayed in front of you. So at your direction, Madam Chair, we're ready as staff to support the board in your process of identifying your requests for new funding, in accordance with the Budgetary Procedures Act and going into the next legislative session.
Okay. So, there's a couple ways we can proceed. We can have people make motions and just say, I move X, Y, and Z. We can go down each one and just take a vote on it, which that's what I'm kind of leaning for. And so let me just maybe frame this up again. Tell me if I'm wrong in any way. What will happen is we move these forward. If a majority moves them forward, they would go into a Qualtrics kind of survey thing, and then board members would prioritize what their top priorities are. And then we could also have a motion on, we move the top 5 forward, we move the top 6. The others would be listed, but we would say that these are, whatever, these are the top motions that we're trying to move forward. And anyway, so that's another way we can do that. One other item, well, let's just go. We do have to, leadership is meeting with the governor's office on the end of September, and it would be great if we had just an overall view of the direction we're headed. Other departments will have their budget ready to say this is the direction we're headed on those. We won't have ours finalized until October, but to have a general feel of what what priorities we're looking at would be beneficial for the board, instead of just saying here's 30 things and we're not sure where we're at yet. It'll give us some indication if we can kind of narrow those down. So Board Member Straight, I see that you've got your light on. Do you have a comment, or do you have a?
I'd like to make a motion, and then I'd like to discuss that after I make the motion.
Okay.
I move that we forward items 1 through 15 on the legislative priorities to be ranked by the entire board.
Is there a second? Okay, Board Member Carey seconded that. And will you speak to your motion?
Yes. I think with our numbers, I've looked through each one of these. I understand. I don't see any of them that I wouldn't want to move forward. I do have on number 2, the CTE one. It lists it by options. My suggestion is we not identify a particular option in this case, but the because I don't want to handicap the concept. There's also on number 15, which is the last one. I know there's been lots of discussion around this one. I want to move this one forward too, because I think it'll give us time to get more information and conjugate where we're headed in regards to that. So I know there's a couple areas, number 2 and number 15, that may have some concerns of some. But I think the prioritization of these will speak for itself. I would hate to have anything removed because of our numbers, of our number of board members available to vote right now. I would hate to see 3 votes torpedoed, because you have to get to 8. So my suggestion is that these all have value. Will really determine what we move forward. It'll give leadership direction when we get on and rank those. They'll see where the rankings were. Then the first meeting in October, we look at it again, and we determine where everything falls out from there. So one other consideration, and then I'll end. We have a shortened amount of time. If we went through each one, there really wouldn't be much time to discuss in detail and give the due diligence to each one of those items as they should receive before we took a vote. So that would be my suggestion, and yeah.
Okay, others, Board Member Wood.
Just a question on that. If we were to move forward with this motion, could we put a timeline on there such that you would have something to discuss as you head to as leadership heads to their meeting, that we're in a currently ranking process, but so far we gave them a deadline. We're at the 6th. You said the end of September. 15 days, 2 weeks. If you gave the board 2 weeks to rank, at least you would have something to discuss.
Well, we would have the outcomes of the survey, right?
Right.
But we wouldn't have the board's final motion
Right.
for it. So we
Right.
could give indication of where people were leaning, but yes, that would be
At
an
least it would
accurate
give
statement.
you something
Yep.
to say this is where individual board members have prioritized.
Why they do that every year.
I have a clarification. Are there 16 items or 15 items on here?
I counted 15. I could be wrong.
Well, I'm just looking at 16 columns. I'm just making sure that
Well, do we include USDB
it's
in our ranking?
it's at the bottom though. We already voted on that.
That's separate.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at the oh, okay. Okay, I just am trying to clarify there.
I counted a couple times, but I could miscount.
Okay, Board Member Davis, did you have comment, question?
Yeah, that meeting should take place after our October board meetings. This happens every year. And I don't know why. First of all, the whole thing's messed up because we have to create a budget when we don't have exact revenues, and no household runs their financial operations like that. But that aside, and I understand the time constraints, even if, their budget is due in the middle of October or whatever, our board meets the first Thursday and Friday of the month. We should be able to take a board vote and then have that meeting happen. And I know it puts them in a really tight time frame, but maybe they need to push to have their time frame moved to November 1st or something. But the way this is done every year, it isn't right, because basically what it does is leave leadership to guess what the will of the board ultimately is going to be based on these conversations or these initial
Well, it wouldn't
votes,
be-
but not a
yeah.
floor debate and official vote.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, first of all, we cannot send everything forward. And I'm worried. I understand that we'll be able to rank and then chop it off at 3 or 4. But by moving them all forward, without having the discussion here, you are really compromising exactly what you're talking about, time to talk about them and debate them. Yes, it would be easy to send them all forward and rank them, but then there would be no discussion. The second point is, yes, our numbers are low. We do meet a quorum, and it's board member choice. They're grown-ups. If they don't show up, they don't show up. But our business has been noticed. The meeting is the same time it is every month. We can't keep kicking this can down the road without conversation about these. No matter if it's 5 of us here or 15 of us here. So I'm a little concerned that moving them all forward causes some problems down the road. I also am concerned that people aren't really looking at these and saying, these two are critical. They are all wonderful cases. They're all wonderful ideas. They're all good. But we know the limitations, and we have been expressly told to limit our requests. So, you know, this has not gone well when we put forward a laundry list. And I just want to make sure that everybody, whether you're in this meeting or you're watching this meeting later to get caught up, that's something that board members think about in the next month. If we do, no, they told us when the meeting is, period, end of story. We can have a special meeting if we need to have that voted on, but I'm not going to be the one that calls the governor's GOPB and says, please move your meeting.
I'll call.
I mean, I
It's just as
understand
wrong.
that.
Every
I
year it's
understand
wrong.
that.
Why
I
continue
just,
wrong?
we do have other options, is what I'm saying, if that is a necessary step. I would prefer just to do the process as we planned and move it forward. I understand the problem of not having that floor vote. So if we needed to do that before the meeting, then we would need to do that on our part. Just my thoughts.
Board Member Straight, we'll take one more comment, then we're
So-
gonna let our youth do the interruption, and then we'll continue. So go ahead.
So, point of information, then a comment. So what is the number that we have been given? Because in the past, we've always had, last year we did 11, wasn't it? Or 12, top. And then the others were just listed below. Are you saying that number is reduced and we're not going to have any listed below? What's the format of what we're looking at in regards to?
Yeah, more or less, it was, they wanted to know if, for example, if we know that there's gonna be limited funds, it's less than last year. I'm just saying, and so when we put on there, let's say our number 1 is the WPU, and the increase exceeds what the expectation is for the increase overall, they're like, and then we have listed underneath them another 10 items. They're asking, what's your priorities? Is it only the WPU? And when we have 10 other items listed there, do we go each one down, or you want to give us 4 or 5? The last couple of years, yeah, we've had a large list of things. Prior to that, that wasn't the case. It was more narrowly tailored. So, anyways, it's up to this body, though. This body makes that decision. If you want to do that, then you can. I'm not saying we can't, but I just think we need to be maybe some thoughtfulness about that. But go ahead, Brent.
I just want to understand where we're headed with this, so that because if we're just going to list 6, I want to know that. However, for example, in my mind, and I've looked it over, and I've read the differences between, on the second one, career and technical education program, there's a long discussion in that, because there's three options. And, you know, I have questions. I think to give a fair amount of discussion, I think that would require more than 8 minutes, because if you take 15 and you give 8 minutes per 15 of each one of these 15, you are at 2 hours. If you want to take 20 minutes, you're now at 5 hours, and based on my observation of this body, that probably would be about right on what it takes to actually vet these as they should be. However, if you take the vote, at least you get a ranked vote of all the board members who participate, and it does give us a ranking. And when you go up and see the governor, you have this ranking. And that ranking could then change. It may change 2 months after that as well. There's always adjustments. So
this is before the body, we do have a motion. So, and we
Anyway.
can, what I'm saying is we can argue this motion, the body can decide. We're just sharing some of the feedback that we've had. So, okay.
I have a question.
Okay, can we hold on? Is that okay to hold on? Will you guys leave your microphones on and, or, will you put a list on and we're gonna, is that okay if we're gonna do an interruption real quick here. Elise Nui, who's doing the? Christina, did you have your? Okay, we are, but we're just trying to get a. All right, are we ready for the break or? Yeah, yes, bring them up. Do you want to, if you want to turn one of the microphones on, and as they're coming up, they can introduce themselves, tell where they're from, and anyways, go ahead, yes.
Okay. I'm McKenna Welker. I'm from Voting District 1, and I go to Ridgeline High School.
Thank you.
I'm Malia Meekum, and I'm from Huntington, and I go to Emory High School.
Hi, I'm Carly Arnold. I go to Weber High School.
I'm Lily Teklemetin. I'm from District 4, and I go to West High, just 5 minutes away.
Hello, my name is Emma Cruz, and I go to Riverton High in District 9.
Thank you.
My name is Maya Vandenberg. I think I'm from District 7. I don't remember, sorry. But I go to Corner Canyon High School.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Zach Davis. I'm a junior at Salem Hills High School, which I believe is District 13.
Thank you.
And I'll share with the board members. So today is their first day here at the Utah State Board of Education. So they're going to be working with your staff to get kind of an overview of what happens here at the state board. And we're actually starting off with a bang today where these representatives from across the state will actually be starting a conversation to give input on some pending legislation that was recently announced in a press conference related to cell phone policies in schools. So the goal of having these students here is that they have that opportunity to be able to engage in some of the similar policy conversations, learn about what happens here at the State Board of Education, and really bring that student voice forward related to some of the topics that the board is discussing. And if appropriate, they would have an opportunity to bring those to you for your consideration as well.
Thank you.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes, come, are you one right here? Let's grab a picture if you want to come stand right here.
And I'd like to add a comment,
I
if you
do,
don't
yeah.
mind. So thank you for taking time out of what I know to be very busy schedules. As a board member and as a member of leadership, it would be fabulous if you take a look at the agenda. I'm sure that you're sending it to them, right? Elise sends it to them. Take a look at that agenda, and if you have thoughts on any of the items, please forward them to the board. We love constituent feedback, and we definitely love feedback from our advisory groups. So take a look at that agenda. We'd love your thoughts, no matter how small, big, what seems far-fetched or even critical. That feedback is important. Thank you for serving.
And we have Elena Addy, who is also online, and she'll be doing the advisory part today online. So can we get her to pull up? Oh, she was? Okay. There she is. Do you want to tell us what high school you're from? I don't know if you can unmute.
Hi, I'm Elena Addy. I'm from Northridge High School in Layton.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We're so grateful. Yeah, don't you love technology? You can be here and there and all over at one point, right? So thank you all for coming today. We do have a couple more comments. Board Member Davis, did you have a question or comment?
Just quickly, if I would have known that you all had snuck in the back there, I would have been a little less prickly in my comments earlier. So we can get a little prickly in our debates, but I would hope we're all friends and we all eat lunch afterwards, and it's all good. But I did want to just piggyback on what Vice Chair Hart said, to give your feedback, and we appreciate it. In fact, in my committee meeting this morning, I said, in our last Student Advisory Council meeting, our students gave this feedback on the financial literacy class and these things about tax forms that need to be included. And so we really do value your input. You are like the ultimate boots on the ground, and we would really love to hear your ideas as we move forward through the year. Thanks.
Okay. Well, and I was going to say just one closing thing. As important it is to hear your ideas, it's also important to understand the structure of how governments work, right? And I think grateful for Elise that and others that helped to provide that, because I think that's an important representative form, and we're elected as board members, not just appointed. And so there is that key governmental feature where we have constituents that we have to be accountable to. So, and you guys get to be appointed. But we're hoping that you can exercise your voice in reaching out to others that are your age, so that it becomes kind of a constituency and not just an appointee type of a thing. So anyways, thank you. So, all right. Okay. Okay, so we'll just restate where we're at. There's a motion on the floor. The motion is, do we have a motion document, just so that as people are speaking, we can speak to this? Okay. In essence, the motion was to bring forward the 15 items and all 15 items, and then to rank those. That's a simplified version of that.
No, that's good.
Was that the motion? So just letting people know as we're speaking to that. And that's, so whatever the body decides to do is the direction we'll head. So I have Carrie. I had you, we just made it a list, so go ahead.
I just had a question about the list. Is that speaking to the motion, or is that better? Is that, so one of the items was for the school safety funding, and there was a dollar amount attached. I believe it was $100 million. I just want to know, where did that particular figure come from? Was that just submitted in the board member who applied, or?
So, Sarah, do you have an answer to that?
I do. So in the full funding request, we reflected where that estimate came from. Components of that are related to the existing LEA submissions related to school safety grants. And then we use those submissions as well to project what we believe future asks are going to be, noting that not every LEA had completed that process. So our calculations are included in the full funding request, but I'm happy to bring them up and have staff speak to them if that would be helpful.
No, when that estimate was provided, Chair, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So as long as Chantel and Deputy Superintendent Norman signed off on that figure, it strikes me as on the lower end of what I've heard being discussed. But I know it's not an exact science, but that was my only question. Thank you.
Can I maybe share something with the I guess I have the mic. From my understanding, it was and this is limited in scope, but just from reading through the documents that were provided and other discussion when it came up, is that it had, that districts said we still need this much funding to finish out what has been already asked. And so that was kind of a rough estimation of the compilation, which kind of was what was articulated. So I don't know if that added clarity or more confusion, but. Okay, Board Member Bogus, I had you next in line.
Yeah, I'm not clear on whether or not Member Straight's motion had a second, but I'd like to make a substitute
It did,
motion.
it was, yeah. Go ahead.
I would just make a substitute motion.
Okay,
Um,
that's in order.
I would love to move the BTS in isolation at this time forward. Move it forward to the next step. I
So
don't know, maybe I didn't
okay,
articulate that.
let me just rephrase, and then you can, maybe this will clarify, because I don't think that's necessary. So his motion is that the board approves all prepared funding requests and directs staff to provide the funding request to board members for ranking before the board's October meeting, which would include BTS.
Yeah, so I have a couple options. I can move to divide, which I think is just gonna waste time, or I can move.
Sorry, I
these
misunderstood
others.
I apologize. Tell me one more.
I wanna just begin the process by moving the BTS forward.
You just want to move BTS?
Yep.
Okay. All right, substitute motion, is there a second? Well, the substitute would be, that's, yeah, there wouldn't be the other items, it would be just that one. That would be the motion to substitute. But that's not what the motion is. The motion is, it would be, we're only voting on the one, but it would substitute the previous motion, which then I think we got to think about the consequences of that. We might want to divide it out versus that, because otherwise, yeah, can we vote on the other items if we've now substituted that in place of it? That's the only question I have.
Can I amend it? Oh, there's not even a second.
Well,
Was there a second? No second. So I guess. Okay, so next person I have is Board Member Davis.
I just wanted to speak to the underlying motion. I'm honestly neither here or there. I mean, I'm going to vote for the motion, but, you know, I'd be okay if we wanted to have some discussion about some of these cases even prior, but, you know, for the last several years, we have ranked our priorities. We've had between 10 and 12 top priorities every year, and then underneath that list, we've had a handful of things that we support but that are not ranked. But that continues to change and grow throughout the whole legislative session, because legislators bring cases forward and funding requests forward, and if we support those, then those get added to that list. And then I think there's an assumption that legislators are, you know, understand if they want to know, well, what's our top priority, they go to our prioritized list. And so they do have an awareness of what our priority is. So I don't think there's a magical number in the sky where we say we have to move 3 things forward instead of top 10 or whatever. I think our top 3 are still our top 3, even if we have a top 10.
Okay. Board Member Hymas.
Thank you. Usually in our priorities, the WPU is listed among them, and the WPU is not listed in this 15. Is this, are we just assuming that the legislature is going to include that, and that's why it's not in this top 15 or in this list of 15? And then, regardless of if that's true or not, it begs the question, are there top priorities? Because WPU has been our #1 for a year, and it continues to be my #1 priority. Yet it's not in this list. So again, it begs the question, what else is not in this list? And I know we've had months to look at this. And this happened last year as well. If we remember, the legislature was working on school safety, and it wasn't It wasn't in our top 10. And so I'm looking at this. I don't know if we're ready to say, yeah, this is the definitive 15 that we want to select our top priorities from. So with that in mind, in my mind, I'm not ready to support the motion that's on the floor here. Thank you.
The top motion right there, Board Member Straight's motion. There was a second. Are there other comments? Board Member Straight. Okay, can we, is that okay? Well, I know, and then I just, I was like, come on, so, go ahead, Board Member Straight.
If I remember correctly, it was the October meeting where we would set our WPU, and I remember I made a motion that the WPU be number 1, and when, in fact, it just be listed first, and then we ranked from there. That being said, and that aside, I am absolutely willing, but I'm not sure that today's the day, I am absolutely willing to take the time necessary to discuss and fully vet all 15 of these. Now, if we average 20 minutes a case, that is 5 hours. That is what it represents, and I think it would actually be longer than that. We put ourselves in this situation, and we've always done it, where either during the legislative session or during these meetings leading up to the ranking, we often are making quick decisions. I would love to take the time, but I don't think anyone here wants to take 5 hours today. I was simply trying to give respect to the process, that the voice of the board is heard in regards to these priorities. I think that's the number 1 goal. I think everyone has that goal. But I think to do what really needs to be done is not today. If we want to have another meeting and we want to take and set aside 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, necessary amount of time to fully vet these and discuss them as a board, that's fine. I'm willing to do that. I'm also willing to go with the motion I put forward. We can put some details there if you want to add what's going to happen with that ranking and how leadership is going to present it. We can do that if we want to get into some details, or we can just go with this, which is very broad. If we want to narrow it down, we can. Anyway, I think I've said enough, but I'm willing to do whatever this body wants to do, but I want to give respect to the priorities we have.
Okay, Board Member Carey, did you have a question?
Yeah, just 2 points of information. One regarding Board Member Bogus's motion. The motion was regarding the BTS. If that vote took place in the affirmative, Board Member Bogus said she wanted to move it forward. Like, what would be the practical effect of voting on that motion?
What would be the outcome of that?
Yeah, like, right. What?
Then it would just be part of our not prioritization. It would go out as one of the items that you can rank going into our next meeting. So that's all we're doing. We're moving the things forward so they can be ranked.
Okay. Would be unranked. And thank you. And then the second question is, if we don't, as a board, collectively take any action, either formally or informally, to rank these items, when board leadership meets with the governor's office, how is that presented if there's no?
We just say this is what happens. Is we say these are things that the board's interested in. This is the amount they're asking. There would not be any prioritization. Is that what you're asking?
If we did nothing else and board leadership went to that meeting, we would say, we have no prioritization and we have nothing to bring you. No, we have not voted on WPU.
Can
No.
someone
That
clarify
was
that?
last
That might,
year, I thought.
that may have been, if it was, can we find that motion? Do you understand? If that was taken in June, I don't remember. I'm just gonna be honest with you, I can't remember. Let's just make sure, and if it was, then we've got it ready to go. If not, then we need to be aware of that, for sure.
We will have no direction, so therefore we would have to tell them we have nothing to.
You don't even show them this list?
No, we would
No.
have the,
We,
well, if we don't move anything forward.
If we do nothing else, then nothing has, if we don't vote this and we don't vote anything else, we have nothing to take them. If this passes, every member will be given a Qualtrics survey where you rank them. They will be statistically
Prioritized.
compiled.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the list we would take. However, what we would have to say is, this is the prioritization. Unless we specify otherwise in a motion before we meet, we would have to say, we have not voted on this list in its full state. We could only say that this is how individual board members prioritize things. So that's a slight difference there. The other thing is, I recall a conversation with a legislator, and I don't remember if it was during a meeting or after a meeting. And the legislator said, and it was a PEA member, they said, you know, what happens when you ask for a 7% WPU, but we can only fund 5? Does that mean that the board would like all the money to go to that? Or do you want, do you want it all to just be put there, or do you want to reconsider? And so to me, what that signaled was they really did want specific. They didn't want to hear a laundry list, a Christmas list. They wanted to hear very directly what this board wanted. And to me, that's an opportunity and a responsibility. So I understand that we don't have enough time to do an in-depth on each issue, but we still have a responsibility, and I don't know if you're ever ready for those kinds of I think you have to look at what's presented, and you have to make a judgment call. And I think we need to be more specific. We've been asked to be more specific, and we can't say, well, we need to talk about this. We don't have the time to do that. Now, someone can make a motion that we have a meeting where we simply talk about it. We could do a work session or whatever, but we can't rest on this. This process, we've known for a year how this process is gonna go. So we need to dive in and be a little bit fearless on it. And we also need to make hard decisions. And we're gonna have to say, you know what? We love program blah, blah, blah. We absolutely love it, but it's not in the top 3. And we're gonna, I just see a reluctance each year to not hurt the program's feel. Like it feels like we're afraid to say, you know what, this year we need to prioritize this. And I just encourage the board to be a little less, to be a little bit more fearless in this and really look at the priorities, even if you don't have all the details.
But we do have, and just with that, you do have a outlined summary that's in there. Send it out early to just ask for you to be very thoughtful about that and to get some questions asked if you have that. But in the end, it is the body. This is a board. This is the body. Whatever you guys want to do. If we want to do another meeting, if we want to discuss it for 5 hours, I kind of prioritize my own. But do you know what I mean? So we can do all this. We can move this forward, and then you can ask us based on the survey. We would take it all, right? And then we'll prioritize next month. So whatever you want to do. Leanne, I'm going to go to you just because you haven't responded yet. Oh, and Sarah's on. Okay, go ahead.
I would like to amend the motion.
Okay.
Behind all prepared funding minus the school behavior support for K-12.
Okay.
and I can speak to that.
Okay, is there a second for that? Okay, there's a second for that.
So I was told that finance approved extra funding from the carryover this morning, so it will be coming to the board, but staff has found a way to fund that internally with our carryover, and so that can move forward, and we would not need to prioritize that as a funding request for our legislature.
Okay, are there additional comments to that amendment?
I have a question.
Yes.
Which I was just about to ask, actually. Did that get solidified, and should that be part of this motion, that we say, instead of asking the legislature, we prioritize carry forward funds from our budget to pay for this?
I did wonder if,
'Cause
if I
this is
have
one
to
of our
wait till
top
October.
requests from the field
I
right now.
actually, I think because you did it in committee and it would come before the board, that I think just removing it is what needs to happen. So,
But then you're risking it not passing the full board. So you're saying parliamentary-wise, it cannot be included in this motion?
I don't know. I just know that it will be before the board again in October. Am I accurate in saying that? It passed out of committee, it's gonna, regardless, it'll be before the board again in
But
October.
is it legal to do it right now, so we know? Is it legal to do it right
So
now?
there's a
as part
motion
of
that
this
was
motion?
passed in committee. What's wanting to happen is to join that motion with an action here. But it'll still come before the board in committee, before the full board, so.
Right, but I want to know, is it legal right now for her motion to say, I'd like to remove this from this list and instead fund it through carry forward funds? And have us approve it right now?
No, but that's what I'm saying, it
It's- but
still
it's-
would
but it-
come before the board.
But it does, it's
and-
also not, let's forget about the committee. Let's say it's just on this list. Is it
I don't know.
okay for her to say, I want to take it off of this and pay for it through board funds? It's right here on the,
So it doesn't have to say carry forward funds?
Okay, we're gonna let Michelle and, Michelle, does that make sense, what we're asking?
Can you?
Okay, but the question and we could amend it, add that to it, but then it could also, does the motion, this motion still comes before the body in October.
we don't want to wait till October because we want to know if we should take it off or not right now. If it's not going to get funded, we don't want to take it off.
They want to be sure to. Can you take a committee motion that's been made?
Okay, let's forget about the committee. Forget about the committee. It's on the list. It was added as a board member.
Yes.
Can she today say, I move to remove this from this list and pay for it through carry forward funds or through board discretion funds, wherever we're getting it? Exactly.
Okay, so but when the motion comes before, and I guess my question is, when the motion comes before the body in October, it won't come before the body now?
Right, doesn't need to be.
Okay, okay. I'm just trying to make sure we do that correctly. Because it's a two-part motion, it's not just remove it, it's remove it and now take the action that was in committee today,
Somebody can move to divide.
okay? It would need to be amendment. So what did we decide? Can that happen? Michelle, is that what you're, okay?
No.
No, it would,
It's in the list. We're forgetting about the
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
It happens to be the same, but it's
It
separate.
happens to be the same, but it was here prior.
so what happens if it doesn't pass in October? I guess I'm just thinking of that in my mind. So we could say yes to it now, but then it could take a risk in October because it would come from the committee because it was passed in the committee. We're not substituting what took place in the committee.
Any of these can be undone in
So
October.
I just want to make sure. Okay, well, go ahead.
I do have a
Oh, go
point of
ahead.
information. This item with the priorities, has that been listed as an action item or discussion item?
Action item from yesterday.
Okay, it has been listed and noticed as an
Uh-huh.
action item? Okay, thank you.
Okay. What would you like your amendment to be?
It looks like that Deputy Stallings doing a great job. So
Okay.
I move to amend the motion to add accept the school behavior support for K through 12 funding request after requests and add the following at the end and approve the student support carry forward funding request for school behavior support for K through 12.
Okay, is there any other discussion? David, Board Member Davis, are you?
No, I just don't know if the wording needs to be approved, you know, the request, because you're referring back to the committee, and then there could be an agenda issue. I mean, I just am saying, you just say, and approve the student support carry forward funding to pay for the school behavior support for K-12.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see, is there anyone online with a hand? Member Brill, are you online to discuss this amendment?
No, I have another one after
Okay,
this
we'll
one's
put
done.
we'll put you in line here for another. Okay, Brent Straight, are you?
Yeah, just by way of information, when we first did the teacher preparation hours years back, that actually wasn't in our top 10. It was actually added in the October meeting, and it was just put on the list, and a legislator picked it up. And so that's
Are
the
you
case with
speaking to
all
the
of this.
amendment?
Well, yes, I am.
Oh, you are,
because
okay.
I'm just trying to point out that these are dynamic. For example, if Board Member Green were here today, I think it would be super appropriate if she said, well, my opinion would be on her which is CTE, that we do option 2 or we do option 3. And it would still apply and could be attached to the motion that I have here. So I very much appreciate what's been done with this amendment, and I think it's highly appropriate. And but since Board Member Green is not here, I don't want to pigeonhole her idea. But I'm also saying that everything is dynamic. The legislature, in the end, decides what is important to them, and there are lots of factors moving in from the public, from us, from other groups, who can change the direction of a policy, or in their case, we have policy, but they would have their laws. Those can drift, and those can change drastically, and what doesn't get any traction this year may get traction next year. So I've said
I just
enough.
want to make sure we're on the amendment, so,
And,
okay.
and I think it's applicable, so thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, the motion before the body is that,
Oh, I did.
who's?
Sorry, you
oh,
can't
sorry.
see my,
Yeah, I can't.
and I should go back to my table, because.
Yeah, I know, because you look
I'm
like
Randy
Randy
now.
Booth from here.
I thought
I keep looking
sat in
down
the
going,
wrong
who is that?
chair. I'll switch back.
You're good, it is,
Well,
all right.
Are we speaking to this motion now?
It's to the amendment.
To the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I'll quickly, and you didn't speak to it yet, so I don't know if you're going to speak to it. But I was just gonna say, there's been a lot of conversations surrounding this very request for funding, and one of the top things those in the field keep asking for are more behavior supports, or adults in the building who have some behavior support training. And we did something similar to this a while back, but with special education funds. And we had a massive, I think over 1,000 people participated, if I'm remembering right, with Dr. Voorhees in our trainings. And so this is kind of modeled in a similar fashion, but because it would involve paraeducators or aides that are working, or teachers even, whoever wants to participate in this, one per building, because it would involve general ed and special ed, it would need to come from different funds. It wouldn't necessarily be able to come from special ed funds, but the model has been wildly successful, and I think it would be really good to support our schools in this way.
Okay, I do have a question, and Leanna, I'm sorry we didn't give you, Board Member Wood, time to speak to it. If you need to, you can. I just have one question, though.
Member Davis did a great job.
Okay, okay, perfect. I mean, I've looked down the rationale. I just don't know what this is. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's broad language. I don't know what's the program, right? So I don't know if you can speak to that, or maybe it was highlighted today in the committee, but.
Can I
so-
speak to it?
Yes, please.
So what we're looking at is that there will be a training designed. So it's a kind of like a 3-year program where the first year the training is designed by our staff. And they have the capacity, they've told me they have the capacity and the desire to do this. Once the training is created, then it will be offered, and the number will be about 1 per school in Utah. And what happens, a district will have that option to, if they have a significant issue in a certain school, maybe they send 2 or 3 from that school. So it's a numbers game, not a school by school game. But then we will have at least 1 per train, so about 1,200 trained paraeducators. Given that, if it works well, maybe we could continue that on as we go forward. But this was a request that came through me after I toured a school in my city where they had their grade leadership from each grade came. I was with a legislator, and they said, give us 1 thank you and 1 ask. And over they said, we need help with behavior. We need help with behavior. And so I had that legislator is kind of on watch, where if we needed to do this through the legislation, she was willing to help me, but our staff was able to find ways to fund that. And that, what I love about that is we can move forward on it immediately if this goes forward, as opposed to having to wait.
Okay. Okay, the motion before the board is that the board amend there we go, let me see. Okay, amend the motion to add except or A, should that be except? The school okay, I'm just gonna read it the way it is. Accept the school behavior support for K-12 funding request after request, and add the following at the end of the motion, and approve the student support carry forward funding to pay for the school behavior support for K-12. Any questions to that motion? Okay, we're gonna vote. All right, let me find my, okay, we're gonna start at the bottom. We're gonna go with Board Member Wood,
Yes.
Straight, Rill,
Yes.
Norton, Lear,
Yes.
Carey, Hymas,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Earl is a yes, Davis,
Yes.
Bogus? No. Okay, all right, that passes. Do we have any more, Board Member Rill, you had a motion? No.
I
We're
do.
just-
I have an amendment.
Okay, what is your amendment?
I sent it to Angie, but my amendment is to change statewide student information system to just student information system. And the purpose statement would be, I have it simplified, that I sent Angie, but it is, after looking and being someone that was a big advocate for a statewide information system, knowing now the contracts and the way that all of our LEAs are using many of them are using their current systems, it would be a huge burden on them to go to a uniform system. So my idea is to find a way to have comprehensive reporting and resources, like a reporting plan, resources for LEAs that do not have the ability to have a good student information system, and then as well a potential FTE to manage the statewide SIS data and reporting.
Okay.
So it's similar, but it's not the full.
Let me read what we have here.
Statewide information system, but a little bit more flexible and better for our LEAs.
Okay, let me read it out and you tell me if this is what you want, and then we'll see if you have a second. The motion would be that the board directs staff to revise the statewide student information system funding request to student information system and amend the purpose statement to be funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support. Is that what you want?
That is correct. That's what I sent to
Okay,
Angie.
is there a second for that? Second. Okay, second, Board Member Norton seconded that. Is there discussion? Anybody online? Okay, we will take, yep, go ahead, Board Member Norton.
I had not seen this before, but I had something similar to this in mind. I don't know that system is the most perfect word. I think what we really need is and I'm not suggesting to change this, but I think what we need to do is maybe quit thinking about systems and start thinking about a standard. We need to have our school information brought in and sent out and relayed and at a standard that meets the needs for USBE and for financial reporting, so that that we're getting clean data and that it can come in and go out to all the systems. And I think we saw this morning from our NES report that when we get our superintendents, our staff, the right people together, they can find a way. And that's what I keep thinking, that there should be a hybrid way that we can keep these LEAs from just absolutely having traumatic problems by having to change over their system, and with probably, who knows what's going to happen with the funding on this. But if we could get these people together and maybe put a little pressure of, we've got, an entire state full of LEAs that need the vendors to also step up to the plate and give us a system, and it might be a hybrid system. I mean, it might be that, these major groups can keep their current operating system, but those vendors have, or within in-house, or somebody brings something in, and I don't know if that's possible, but I think that we need to look at that as an option, so that we can keep our information clean, our data pure, and that we all operate at a great system level. But it might be different people. Yes.
What if I really like what you said about standard. So I would feel good about changing funds to create a uniform reporting standard.
Or do you
It
have
is kind of
still
similar.
a second with that?
I don't know if that works.
Meaning, like, everyone, when they send their data to the state, it has to be uniform. It comes in the same format, the same way, with all the same fields. And that makes it a lot easier for our system to then, and we develop that standard so that we require all the LEAs with their different SIS systems to send their data in the same reporting standard.
Okay. Board Member, Scott Jones, do you have a comment?
Well, I just want to, and hopefully this is for the good of the group and the good of this discussion, the data standards are available. What is happening in a lot of instances is that the current systems that are being used, in order to meet the standards for submission of that data, they have to take additional time and effort to export from their own system, reconfigure it to submit to us. The concept behind one SIS is, well, if you're all in one, so not even a student information system, say a financial system or one system, right? A one system approach means everybody's doing it in the one system to the same standard. What ends up happening is research supports that when you have to export data, when you have to download it, the training curve, those types of things, your risk of increased errors in those submissions occur. And we've seen that. We've seen that through the years. We've seen that, over time. So I concur with Board Member Norton in the sense of, well, systems need to be aligned so that we reduce or, well, actually, hopefully eliminate the risk that by way of export and all these types of things that we're seeing, errors that come up to us that have to be redone. If you want to use Kaizen, Lean Six Sigma, the rework is incredible on all this. And it's no one's fault. It's not, there's different levels of training and understanding. You have different systems, so you get different training for different systems. You do that. I'm not criticizing that in any way, but I just want to make sure that I think we're pretty good and pretty clear about what the data standards are for reporting, what's required. We don't require anything above what's required by law, but inevitably what ends up happening is we get a jumble of information because, again, nobody's fault, not disparaging any types of systems. We just operate in different disparate systems. So you get exporting, downloading, reconfiguring, reformatting, chips up, long-term quality control reviews of over 600,000 students and their data. And the concept behind One SIS is that really oftentimes solves a lot of those problems. So thank you. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And
I'm not practicing to be a lobbyist, but just clarity.
No.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I do,
Board
I
Member Rao?
totally, I wanted to just, I totally understand what you're saying, 100%. I really do. I think that this allows us to get all of our ducks in a row, pressure and force.
We've lost you, Board Member Rill. Board Member Rill.
Inform reporting. Yeah?
We lost you.
Am I not there?
Oh,
okay.
Just about
I
30
said
seconds
it's
back.
similar
It was probably really good, but we
Okay,
don't know what
sorry.
it was. So,
I totally agree with you, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to get all of our ducks in the row and organize a standard for our reporting and force these systems and these contracts that our LEAs have with these systems to uniformly report the data. And it's similar to the USHI system. We use different SIS systems at different institutions, but the state USHI requires us to report in a uniform way, and all of the systems that each institution works with has been forced to change their way of reporting and their way of collecting data to be aligned with how the state wants it to be reported. So this is an interim way of getting us all a little bit more uniform.
okay. Let's see, who's next? Board Member Norton, you're done. Board Member Davis, did you have a comment?
I just noticed at the end there, she said an interim way of working through this, and it sounds to me like, well, she's saying they're either gonna fall in line or they're not gonna be able to be used. And so, there's these two competing issues at hand. One is there's a lot of changes that would need to be made on one side, but on the other side is we have to have accurate information and data. So I don't know if that means we ultimately come up with an approved list of vendors, or if it is only gonna be the ones that can export in the way we need it done, or what's gonna happen. But I mean, it sounds like it's a reasonable start to a solution to the problem, but interim may be the key word, it may be the key word.
Okay.
Maybe a reasonable start is a better way of saying it, Member Davis. And a lot of these big systems with the big contracts that our LEAs use, they use them for more than just the reporting data. And going in and changing the way they do that is a huge lift. And so, but the software companies that create these SIS systems, they have the capabilities and the resources to adjust their SIS system to align with what kind of reporting we need.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate this discussion, and it feels a little bit like Groundhog Day when we had this discussion in 2017, and we heard some of the same concerns about, we've invested money, change is hard, we want systems to be able to talk to each other, we get it. So I appreciate those same fundamental concerns. I want to expand the frame a little bit because we heard commentary yesterday about reporting, and a lot of our conversation to this point today has been about reporting and data exchange. But let's broaden the frame to think about decision-making, regardless of where we end up at the end, whether it's one system or systems that talk to each other. I'm reflecting on the number of audits that we've had that talk about efficiency of compliance monitoring and not being able to not just get correct data, but the efficiency around that. So those are some of the terms I'm thinking about in the framework. Efficiency, decision-making. States that have gone to one SIS you're starting to see the needle move on student outcomes, just based on the efficiency and effectiveness of data that they have accessible to them. We also haven't brought up one of the important talking points, and that's the parent and community engagement with systems. Can parents get the information they need? Can educators get the information they need? As we've looked at the systems in this state, now I know I'm saying this very publicly, so I'm going to be very careful in how I say this, but there are a lot of systems out there, and we're aware of maybe 2 that are really comprehensive in nature, that if you looked at it in a microcosm, they can do all of the things around efficient compliance monitoring, all their systems connected, while protecting data, making sure that the right data is all connected and there for community engagement and parents, et cetera. So to say that I don't want to change, or we've invested money in systems, I think you have to weigh that with, I think it was Member Davis who was saying, there might be a lot of things that need to happen in all of these disparate systems that could be more expensive than one system. So I just, again, want to broaden the framework that it's not just about data and reporting, but there are all of these other elements, including transparency with the community, efficiency, cost savings, compliance monitoring, and some of those kinds of things. You could start with minimal capabilities like you're talking about, but we have the standards in place. So how do we make sure all those other things are talking points in the framework as you move forward? That's my tripling down, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. The Board Member Norton, do you have another comment?
And I appreciate those comments very much. And because this is not a, court where I have to win a case, I can argue the other side pretty well too, because as a teacher, I will tell you that one of the most frustrating years I ever taught school had to do with these systems, because we did not have, and we do not have, a system that transfers records within our state between LEAs. And I waited 4 very long months to get one student's file with their SPED records in it, and it was horrific. And I bet we called every single day. I could have walked to that school and back to Washington County faster than we got those reports. And we needed them. We needed the data. And so I get it, and I am wholeheartedly 100% in for education to make these transfers work. It's critical for student outcome. And I'm just all there. I also have been a teacher that has gone through that change of SIS systems and know what that feels like. And it never comes at the good time, and it's a big challenge and that's just on my little teacher side of the world, to have to start all over to learn the whole new system again. But I would just like us to be able to have a discussion like we're having here, where we understand each other better, and see if there's any way we can come out with a little bit of movement so that we get the information we need. It's where it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to be, and we don't have those problems. And if there's a way that we can even get, a couple of these legacy systems that are used by a wide number of students, and maybe have more than just the one option, but maybe 2 or 3 options that can do the work, you know, that's at least another possibility. But I hear what you say, Superintendent, and you're right. Student outcome is what we're here for.
Board Member Davis.
Accurate student outcome.
May I ask a question of the motion maker?
Okay, question of the motion maker.
I'm wondering if that part at the end of the motion, it says, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support. I mean, is that if we are going to require vendors to absolutely meet the needs that we have here as a state, do we need to have regular meetings with those vendors? Is that FTE for that person, the person who's going to do that? Is our staff going to do that? What kind of funds would that require?
It is a huge lift to do all of this, whether it be a statewide SIS system or this consistent and uniform reporting. And, you know, I mean, I would love an assessment of all the SIS systems and looking at how each of them currently can report and going through all. I mean, I just think that this is a huge undertaking. Either way we go, and I think another FTE is essential in order to complete that work and not burden our staff. But to answer your question, yes, I do think they would be working with these software companies as well.
Okay, I have a clarifying question. Just, did we change system to standard, or are we leaving it at system? And then was that seconded? I need that clarification because we discussed it, but I don't know if that happened.
If I changed it, do we need a second, or can it be considered a friendly?
Well, we can ask if there's any objection. So did you want that changed?
I think that is a better description.
Okay, so the word would be changed from system to standard at the end. Is there any objection to that? Well, is there any objection?
Yes,
You object?
yes.
Okay, so you'd actually have to make a motion for that to be changed then.
And I
Brent?
could,
Go ahead.
so my suggestion is keep system and then put standards, student information system standards. Or is SIS too long?
Yes, but you got to turn your mic on.
What is the marketplace? What do they call it? They all call them SIS systems. Are they systems? I think we ought to go with what is the common language.
Okay. Board Member Rail, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. And it's kind of both, because there is the potential for us to use these resources to adjust and change our system at USBE, but there is also this idea of a reporting standard. So it's kind of both. And I think I probably used system originally just to keep it more open, because I think that if we do ask for resources for this plan, then we're going to need to do an assessment and things. I think we're going to find that things might change a bit as we go through it, and that funding could be used for things that we could potentially not imagine at this moment.
Okay. Brent, do you have a question?
What would be appropriate to speak to right now? Because I'm
Well,
not sure
we're
where
speaking to this amendment here.
Okay, so I can speak to that amendment, okay.
Yep.
So we're past the systems and that discussion.
Well,
Okay.
it didn't.
I'm glad, that's good. I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure I was speaking appropriately. Okay, so everyone here has listened to many voices in the last 3 days. From LEAs, from their leadership, lobbyists, and then staff, and then board members. And I'm hearing several messages. What I heard from the lobbyists was that we can make this work. If you give us a chance, we can interface with the systems. We can make this happen. So that's one voice. From the LEAs, We want to be responsible. We want autonomy. But we do understand the importance and need for the USBE to have good data, but do it through data sharing model and agreements to where we are required to meet certain standards. And I've heard other voices from LEAs that want the single system, and many of those are smaller districts. So I'm hearing many different voices, and it feels like when I was on a jury, and you're sitting there and you're listening to all these voices, and you're trying to, because you listen to 5 different lawyers and they're all arguing a different thing, and they all sound good. So anyway, I think I'm going to support this because I think it's one step forward. I don't think this is completely the answer. I think there'll be some revisions made, but we don't have to make all those decisions today. Let's make it as best we can. I like where we're at right here. I'm ready to move forward.
Okay. Any additional comments? Board Member Wood.
Just on the wording, it says funds to create a uniform reporting system resources. Is it a uniform reporting system, or is it resources? Or create?
There should be a comma after resource. The Oxford comma, maybe. Oh no, there's another one after that.
Oh, so system comma after system?
Create a uniform reporting system, comma, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, Oxford, comma, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, the motion before the board is to amend, is an amendment to the original motion. It's to add the following, let's see, direct staff to revise the statewide student information system funding request to student information system and revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support. So let's start at, I don't know, we're going to start middle here. Board Member Lear.
Yes.
Oh, well, we'll start there more often. Board Member Norton. Board Member Rill.
Yes.
Board Member Straight.
Yes.
Board Member Wood.
Yes.
Board Member Bogus.
No.
Board Member Davis.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Board Member Hart.
Yes.
Board Member Hymas.
Yes.
Board Member Carey. No. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses and 2 noes. The noes are Bogus and Carey. Are there any other motions? Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approves. Yes.
Chair, I have a point of information
Oh,
on this.
yes, go ahead.
This is the major motion, this is our
Yes,
honorable
this is
motion.
the main motion.
Yeah, I don't see Michelle, but I'm concerned that. Yeah, I see her now. Sorry, Scott. Yeah. But I'm sorry. Yeah, Michelle, I'm concerned that, wait, what's our motion?
It's to move all the items forward with these 2 amendments to it.
But is this the one that says we're gonna vote on it?
We're
Like,
mov- We're moving all the items forward. What will happen is at this point of
Yeah.
information, right, is you will get an email over the next couple weeks where you would rank these, and then that would be compiled. And then it'd be brought before us in October, and then we can adjust that how we want to.
Yep. Yeah, and I seconded the
Okay.
motion, but now that I looked at the Open Public Meetings Act, I am concerned that we're saying that we're ranking, but really we're voting, right? We're expressing our preference as to which of these items is preferred. Like if we had this discussion in this body and we did the same thing, that would be a vote. My concern is that, are we violating the Open Public Meetings Act when we say, well, because we're doing it electronically and we're calling it a survey, it's not a vote? And I thought, well, we can get around that, we'll not get around it, but it doesn't apply because it's tentative. But then I saw that, well, tentative votes also need to be, are subject to OPMA. So,
Wouldn't yeah, we would have to disclose the,
I think as long as you disclose what your ranking is, you're okay.
and that disclosure doesn't need to be contemporaneous with the
I
actual
don't think
vote.
so. And I think on this where it's not a permanent vote, where it's your, that's a good question, sir.
Because, as I thought through this, I thought, well, okay, so we vote and then what?
Our
How long
ranking,
before we
your
have
ranking.
to? Well,
Yeah.
again, I think for purposes of the Open Public Meetings Act, I think it's the equivalent of a vote.
Yeah.
As I view it. But so, is there a requirement for us to disclose our ranking within a, because when we hold an open public meeting that's contemporaneous with the vote, whether it's final or tentative, here, it wouldn't be.
I think
I
if
think
you're
it-
not sharing with each other and you're independently by yourself doing your ranking and you're not sharing it and discussing it with each other, I think that makes a distinction as well, that you're not conversing with each other about your ranking. This is something you're doing independently and you're just sharing that with staff. It's not being you deliberating amongst yourselves about your ranking. That I feel like you're making your individual choices, that's not the same as you doing a vote because you're not collaborating as a group, making your decision as a group. You're not deliberating as a group. So that
and
would
it will
vote
be
against
disclosed.
it.
It will be part of our agenda packet, so the public will have access to,
I understand, but it's
Okay.
not contemporaneous. Like, the public
I
has no
understand that.
ability to hold us accountable because it's not live. Like, the results are not. And remember, I seconded the motion. I'm just
Yeah.
yeah, just making sure, and that's fine. It's good to ask these questions,
I'm
so.
not against it. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're.
In the past, we've seen it as being appropriate and not a violation of the Open and Public Meetings Act where you weren't doing any conversing with each other about it. You weren't deliberating with each other about it. I understand that you see it as, it could possibly be seen as a tentative vote.
So if we came here as a
But-
body and we didn't discuss, we just voted,
Your ranking isn't a final decision at all.
so what I just read said it also applies to tentative, not
This
the
isn't-
final.
I wouldn't even say that your ranking was the tentative decision because your vote by itself doesn't give the authority for the board or for staff to do anything by itself.
But they're going to take that and they're going to go to the governor's office and
Right.
say, based
They're-
on this
They're
Qualtrics
going to bring
survey,
it to you, and you're going to see the Qualtrics survey.
and they're not going to rely
So
on
then
that
we would
survey at all.
not, I think, I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Board Member Carey, because we wouldn't be able to actually bring the survey results there until they, yeah, that's
We-
a good point. Unless we had another meeting.
Well,
the only-
that's why we would say this is what is going to the next
But
meeting.
we wouldn't even be able to do that.
Why couldn't we say this is what's
For the very
going to
thing
the?
that Joe's saying is it would then come off as if it was
So we would have to
position.
do a special meeting, because normally
I
we
do
would.
see
see
that
where
as
you're
a
going.
problem. I
Okay.
thought, it was my understanding that it was gonna come back to you as a board to make the
Well,
final
it
decision.
will. The idea was to show them where the results were, but the
But I
point
don't think
is it
you
would
can
have to
do
be
that
after.
without having the
Yeah.
board have
Actually
have been the
vote.
ones,
Yeah,
and
because
without
it would
you
look
being
as
the
if it
ones
were
that
a
make that
position.
decision.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I misunderstood. I thought it was going to come back to you first.
Well, it will, but it was just the tentative results, but it sounds like that can't happen, which
I don't
makes
think you
sense.
can disclose
Yep.
that.
Yep.
No, I don't think you can disclose
Yeah,
that
that's a
until
good
you as
point.
a board
Good question.
present it in an open meeting and make a decision in an open meeting.
Okay.
Again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not against the process.
Yeah.
I seconded the motion. I think it's a good motion. I just don't think we can do it.
I don't think you can do it without having the board come back together, whether you do it as a virtual meeting and you vote on it as in a virtual meeting, however you're going to do it. But I think you as a board need to disclose those individual scores that you've made, the way that they collate together, and make a decision as a board.
So in other words,
agree.
if I can articulate, whatever we move today is just what we take there, saying these are provisions, we'll be ranking those officially in October. So okay, thank you.
Thank you for helping me understand, and I'm sorry that I didn't understand the whole process.
Board Member Davis, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say we should just call another meeting. I mean, like, I don't want
Someone
another
could
meeting
make
like I
that-
want a hole
someone
in my
could
head,
make
but
that motion.
I think
This
I
is the
move
motion
that we
on the-
call another meeting.
So is that a substitute motion?
No, it's an additional motion to all of this.
Okay, do we want to vote on this, and then you can make that motion?
Sure.
Okay, so the motion before the board is that the board approves all prepared funding requests and directs staff to provide the funding request, except the school behavior support for K-12 funding request. A lot of funding requests there. To board members for ranking before the board's October meeting. 2, approves the student support carry forward funding to pay for the school behavior support for K-12 and directs staff to revise the statewide student information system funding request to student information system, or SIS, student information system, SIS, and revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support.
So,
Did I
Vice
get that
Chair
right?
Earl,
Yes.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Yes? What would your,
Under Part 1, for K through 12 funding request to board members for ranking before a special meeting called of the board.
okay. Or do you want that just part of?
It's just instead of before the board's October meeting, it's before a special meeting called of the board.
Motion to amend the motion to revise October meeting. So you're just adding a special, is it you adding the special meeting here?
Yes.
Is that what that's meaning?
Yes.
Okay, in a second? Second. Okay, any discussion?
Can I speak to it?
Yep.
I think I would like us to go forward with our, what do you call it, ranking, and then meet and evaluate so that when you go to talk to the governor's office, you have a specific vote from the board of our priorities.
Okay, sounds like a good plan to me. Yeah, any other comments? Any comments online? Sarah, Board Member Rill, do you have a comment?
I don't. Sorry, my hand's probably still up.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote. So the amendment is that to amend the motion to revise the board's October meeting to a special meeting of the board. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Oh, I see, because we had, I see. So you're striking, okay. You're just striking October meeting. That's why I was like, wait a minute, where do we have that? Okay, so the motion before, that's the motion before the board. Member Lear, we're going to start with you again. Point of information first.
All right, so we're not replacing the October meeting. We're having a special meeting before.
The number one, the end of number one. So it wouldn't be, it's replacing those.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Board Member Lear,
Yes, thank you.
on the amendment. Board Member Norton.
Yes.
Rill. Board Member Rill.
Yes.
Board Member Straight.
Yes.
Board Member Wood.
Yes.
Board Member Bogus.
Yes.
Board Member Davis.
Yes.
Board Member Earl's a yes. Board Member Hart.
Yes.
Board Member Hymas.
Yes.
Board Member Carey. Okay, that passes unanimously. And we're back to the original motion as amended. The motion is that the board approves all prepared funding requests and directs staff to provide the funding request except the school behavior support for K-12 funding request to board members for ranking before a special meeting of the board. Do I need to put special, sorry, okay, we did it, all right. Approves the student support carry forward funding to pay for this school behavior support for K-12 and directs staff to revise the statewide student information system funding request to student information system and revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SAS system, and potential FTE for statewide SAS data and reporting system. And we're going to start with Board Member Hart. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Was that a yes? Board Member Hymas.
No.
Board Member Carey. Yes. Board Member Lear.
Yes.
Board Member Norton.
Yes.
Board Member Rill.
Yes.
Board Member Straight.
Yes.
Board Member Wood.
Yes.
Board Member Bogus.
No.
Board Member Davis.
Yes.
Board, and I'm a no. Okay, and that passes. The no's are Bogus, Earl, and Hymas, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor. Okay, and we are moving to the next agenda item. Actually, we're going to move to our audit piece here. So we will turn the time over to Chief Audit Executive Debbie Davis and Deputy Audit Executive Kevin John. Do we need a break? Can we take just a 5-minute stretch? Okay, so 5-minute stretch if everybody wants to be quick, though I am pretty good about time. I can watch time a little better than Chair Moss, so just warning you.